There's a new war on parental rights in Colorado. You will not believe this. Democrats advancing a controversial bill that would effectively classify misgendering and dead naming as child abuse in custody decisions. Now, dead naming is when you refer to an individual by their birth name and not the new desired name. So in custody battles, that would now be considered coercive. The Democrats invoked a rule to avoid any debate on this bill and these changes. And now it's heading to the Democrat-controlled Senate, where it will likely pass. I mean, this is wild. Republican State Representative Jarvis Caldwell refused to stay silent, posting this.
When we were going into debate, starting the debate on House Bill 1312, the Democrat majority invoked Rule 16. Rule 16 is calling the question and it ends debate immediately and then goes directly into a vote. And I believe they did this to silence us because they know how much negative attention this has been getting nationwide. And so what they did was they silenced us and did not let us represent our constituents and talk about the issues that we have with this bill. If you recall, House Bill 1312 says that if your child is confused about their gender identity and you don't affirm that confusion, that delusion, then you are guilty of child abuse and you can lose custody of your children. Now, here's what I wanted to say from the floor of the House of Representatives that I was robbed of saying in silence. I wanted to say it is not me, it is not my constituents, it is not the people from my side of the aisle who are pushing this gender identity crap on the kids of Colorado. They are. And what they want to do with this bill is say that if they confuse your children and you don't affirm that confusion, they will take your child from you.
So, Lydia, if you call your child by their birth pronoun, if you call your child by their birth name, that is considered coercive, and you could have your child taken away in the state of Colorado. I can't think of anything more Orwellian or more Big Brother.
It feels like the lunatics are running the state house there or something. That's the only way to explain it. I will say this, there are families across the country in my community that are navigating issues of transgenderism, transgender children. And in my own community, I have no judgment. I agree, children who are all created in the image of God with no judgment and acceptance. It is not my place. But I also think it is not the place of government to try to regulate this issue and navigate this with parents. I think this is an issue that should be squarely left to the parents of the household. Let me give you an example. I have a 2.5-year-old and a 5.5-year-old. My son is the younger one, 2.5, and he adores his older sister. What is she into right now?
Dolls.
Dolls. Princesses, right? She wants to be the princess of the house. So what does he want to be? The princess of the house. He wants to get dressed up in the tiaras and the gowns. And I actually find it to be so sweet and endearing because to me, I read that as adoration. He adores his older sister and just wants to be with her and play with her. Now, if we had a law like what Colorado is considering, I actually stopped and wondered, would I have to be forced to answer as to why I'm not calling him a princess or why I'm not calling him a girl? Why I'm still telling him, you're a little boy? That is crazy. That is really crazy. At some point, common sense, I think, Kayleigh, just has to prevail.
And if they would have actually spoken with parent groups, they might have gotten a dose of common sense. But Harris, listen to this. This is one of the grossest sound bites I think I have ever heard. This is Democrat lawmakers being asked, did you speak to the parents groups? Listen to how they talk about parents.
We'd heard from multiple witnesses that this bill has been worked on for over a year. I will say I learned about this bill yesterday. It was introduced Friday evening. I really am curious about how much stakeholdering went on both sides of the issue. And if parent groups that are not a part of the LGBT community, if they were involved.
A well-stakeholdered bill does not need to be discussed with hate groups. And we don't ask someone passing civil rights legislation to go ask the KKK their opinion.
I agree. There's no reason to go to the table with people who are echoing the hateful rhetoric going around about the trans community.
So the one lawmaker there, when she calls parents groups, anybody who's not an LGBT parent group, why wow. So I guess we're the enemy in her book. And so, or in her case, the rest of us are white supremacists. Like, that was her example. I mean, this is more than just offensive. This comes under that umbrella of, why does the government want to take our children? Mm-hmm. Why in the state of Illinois we're school choice? They want to send in, a Democrat-led bill right now wants to send in investigators to figure out whether or not you're homeschooling correctly. This is like that. Are you calling your child by the right name? And I love the example that you gave, because that's about love. He loves his only 3-year older sister, right? And he's emulating what he sees. Children are not sex driven. They're not sex objects. And maybe they can become that in later life, adulthood, but they're just loving based on the human beings they see before them. And we have to give them the space to be who they're going to be. And the government does not need to get involved and tell us how to parent across a love spectrum.
Yeah. You know, Steve, to hear Yara Zokai there talk about parents groups as hate groups and analogize them to the KKK, right. And then it went over to a man named Javier Mabry, who also has a D behind his name, also a Democrat. He doesn't counter her. He doubles down on hate groups. Right. Parents love their children more than the federal government, more than the state government, more than the Colorado Democratic Party. And how dare you call them hateful?
Here's the thing. In the state of Colorado, just like in the state Harris and I live in New Jersey, there are jurisdictions where the day your child is born, the parents, when they're filling out the birth certificate, can choose a non-binary gender name or an X. So the day the baby is born, they're going to decide. They can put an X, they can put an M, they can put an F. I remember back, I'm so old, I remember when there were just 2. But now they've got all these genders and things like that. And just imagine, and the idea is so that someday in the future, the child will be able to select their gender. That's what parents are deciding. Imagine the pressure on the kid at that point. You know,
interesting point.
They don't get to decide. God, you were talking about your maker. God already decided. And 100 years from now.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.